The air in our shared apartment, usually thick with the comfortable silence of two lives intertwined, suddenly crackled with a brittle, suffocating tension. As my girlfriend Eleanor hunched over her laptop, her face illuminated by the flickering blue light of the screen, desperately, almost frantically, clicked away at the delete button, her fingers moving with a terrifying urgency that betrayed the casual, almost breezy tone she attempted to maintain. "Please, just trust me, Liam," she pleaded, her voice a fragile whisper, laced with a tremor that resonated deep within my chest, a desperate plea that tugged at my heartstrings even as a cold, unsettling knot of suspicion began to tighten in my stomach, because the act itself, this frantic erasure of her digital history, spoke volumes louder than any carefully constructed words of reassurance, hinting at a truth far more sinister than any ordinary digital spring cleaning. Her eyes, usually so open and expressive, were wide, almost manic, brimming with unshed tears that seemed to spill over with a terrifying mixture of genuine anguish and manipulative desperation, fixed pleadingly on mine, begging for an unwavering faith I no longer possessed, begging me to ignore the glaring contradiction between her words and her actions, urging me to blindly accept her frantic digital purge as an innocent act, a gesture of transparency, rather than the desperate cover-up it so clearly appeared to be. The rhythmic thump-thump-thump of the delete key echoed in the sudden cavernous silence of the room, each click a hammer blow against the fragile edifice of my trust, systematically dismantling the very foundation of our 5-year relationship, tearing down the walls of certainty I had meticulously built around our future. Because, despite her tearful pleas, despite her seemingly heartfelt appeals for my unwavering belief, the gut-wrenching realization was beginning to dawn on me. Genuine innocence rarely necessitates such a frantic, almost pathological erasure of one's entire digital footprint. My unease, initially a subtle prickle, escalated into a churning vortex of dread as I watched her, transfixed by the desperate choreography of her fingers, meticulously obliterating what she so vehemently insisted were just old, irrelevant messages, a cascade of digital detritus that to her seemed to hold no significance, yet to me, whispered of a meticulously constructed web of deceit. Each deleted conversation, a hidden thread in a tapestry of lies she was frantically trying to unravel before my very eyes. Her pleas for trust, once disarming, now felt like a desperate attempt at manipulation, a thinly veiled effort to distract me from the undeniable evidence of her frantic actions, subtly feeding the insidious corrosive suspicion that was rapidly metastasizing within me, spreading its tendrils of doubt through every corner of my mind, consuming every last vestige of my once unwavering faith. It was in that agonizing moment, as her final click sent a cascade of phantom data into the digital void, a triumphant, almost exhausted sigh escaping her lips, that my gaze, almost by accident, or perhaps guided by a cruel twist of fate, drifted across the familiar desktop interface, catching on a small, unassuming icon nestled discreetly in the lower right-hand corner of her screen. A folder I had never noticed before, its presence a jarring anomaly in her usually minimalist digital landscape. The label, stark and chilling against the vibrant backdrop of her desktop wallpaper, stood out like a beacon of impending doom, each letter a cold, precise incision into my already raw nerves. Escape plan. My heart, which had been hammering against my ribs with an erratic, panicked rhythm, suddenly froze in my chest, a solid block of ice, as a wave of profound, agonizing nausea washed over me, threatening to pull me under, because the very name of the folder, so starkly unambiguous, so terrifyingly deliberate, screamed of a calculated deception, far grander, far more sinister than any mere infidelity I might have initially suspected, instantly transforming my spiraling suspicion into a cold, terrifying certainty that my life, as I knew it, was about to shatter into a million irreparable pieces. My breath hitched, a silent, painful gasp as the chilling implication of that folder label slammed into me with the force of a physical blow, stripping the air from my lungs and leaving me gasping for air in the suffocating vacuum of her colossal deception, transforming my escalating suspicion into a terrifying, undeniable certainty that my life as I knew it was about to be irrevocably altered, to shatter into a million irreparable pieces, with a hand that trembled betraying the deceptive calm I tried to project. I waited until Eleanor, exhausted by her digital purge and seemingly satisfied with her performance, excused herself to the bathroom, offering me a final, strained smile that now seemed grotesque, a mask of innocent affection designed to conceal a truly monstrous truth. The moment the bathroom door clicked shut, sealing her in a momentary oblivion, I lunged for the laptop, my fingers now moving with a furious, almost desperate urgency. Navigating to the ominous folder labeled Escape Plan, my heart pounding against my ribs, like a frantic drum, each beat a painful throb of impending reckoning. As a terrifying mixture of dread and a desperate, insatiable curiosity fueled my every move, I clicked, the small, almost inaudible sound echoing like a gunshot in the sudden, cavernous silence of the room, and the folder sprang open, revealing its horrifying contents. A meticulously organized collection of documents that instantly confirmed my darkest, most unspeakable fears, twisting the knife of betrayal with a precision I never anticipated, causing the floor to spin beneath my feet, and there, meticulously arranged within the chillingly innocuous folder, were the stark, irrefutable pieces of her monstrous deceit, each item a fresh, agonizing stab to my already bleeding heart, confirming a betrayal so profound, so multi-layered, so utterly grotesque, that it transcended any simple infidelity I might have initially braced myself for, plunging me into a nightmare far darker, far more dangerous than anything I could have ever conceived. The first document that leaped out at me, its bold typeface screaming its damning truth, consisted of airline tickets, not just for her, not for some anonymous lover, but unequivocally, horrifyingly in my name, detailed flight itineraries for a one-way journey to a country I had never even considered visiting. A destination chosen not by me, but seemingly for me, without my knowledge or consent. A revelation that slammed into me with the force of a concussive blast, stripping the air from my lungs and leaving me gasping for breath, utterly consumed by a profound sense of disbelief and overwhelming terror, realizing that I was not just being cheated on, but somehow being coerced, manipulated, dragged into a nefarious scheme against my will. Nestled beside these damning tickets were two crisp, brand-new passports. Their blank pages and official seals, a chilling testament to her meticulous planning, one clearly hers, its new photo gleaming under the laptop's light, and the other, my own face staring back at me, subtly altered. A new identity meticulously crafted, a horrifyingly convincing forgery that confirmed my deepest, most terrifying fear. This wasn't just an escape for her, it was a meticulously orchestrated plan for a shared forced disappearance, a complete, agonizing erasure of our past lives. A horrifying descent into a world of assumed identities and inescapable shadows. A future imposed upon me without my knowledge or consent. And then, as if the universe itself had decided I hadn't suffered enough, as if there needed to be a final, grotesque punctuation mark on the sentence of his treachery, I discovered a small stack of perfumed stationery, delicately placed beneath the passports, containing several handwritten thank you notes from her side fling, their saccharine messages dripping with intimate details and blatant appreciation for various unforgettable evenings and discreet arrangements, each word a fresh, agonizing dagger twisting in my already open wound, confirming the infidelity with a mocking casualness that made my blood run cold, then boil with a furious, righteous indignation, because this wasn't just an affair, it was a calculated, transactional betrayal. A dehumanizing insult interwoven with a terrifying high-stakes plot that now implicated me, fundamentally shattering my understanding of reality. My entire body convulsed, a violent, uncontrollable tremor rippling through me, from the tips of my fingers to the soles of my feet, as the full, devastating weight of that horrifying discovery, the airline tickets in my name, the two new passports, and the sickeningly casual thank you notes from her side slammed into my consciousness, shattering the last fragile remnants of my sanity and leaving me breathless, reeling from the profound sense of utter annihilation. The implications of what I had found were terrifying, far eclipsing any pain of simple infidelity. This was not merely an affair, but a meticulously planned, dangerous escape, an elaborate scheme to drag me into a life of hidden identities and forced flight. For reasons I couldn't yet fathom, a chilling testament to her capacity for manipulation and deceit that stretched far beyond any conventional understanding of betrayal. My mind, a maelstrom of conflicting emotions, cycled through white-hot rage at her casual infidelity, agonizing despair at the loss of the future I believed we shared, and a cold, visceral terror at the prospect of being unwillingly entangled in whatever nefarious plot necessitated new passports and a sudden forced disappearance, leaving me utterly disoriented and nauseated, caught in a nightmarish web of her making. The knowledge that she had orchestrated this grotesque charade, that she had smiled into my eyes, whispering sweet nothings, all while meticulously planning our shared escape and entertaining a side fling, was a betrayal so profound, so utterly dehumanizing, that it stripped away every last vestige of my self-worth, leaving me feeling like a mere pawn in her twisted, dangerous game. A disposable tool in her meticulous escape plan. A cold, terrifying calm settled over me then, replacing the initial shock and gut-wrenching pain with a chilling, resolute clarity, because I knew, with an absolute, unwavering certainty, that what I had to do next would be as meticulously planned, strategically executed as her own elaborate and grotesque deception had been. A direct mirroring of her calculating cruelty, but with my own freedom and safety as the ultimate stakes. My hands, though still trembling with the lingering aftershocks of discovery, now moved with a newfound, almost surgical precision as I systematically photographed every shred of evidence, every damning detail from the airline tickets, the new passports, and the sickeningly intimate thank you notes, ensuring that her treachery would be undeniable, indisputable, an irrefutable testament to the depth of her deceit. Because this confrontation, this inevitable reckoning, would not be a mere emotional outburst, a private scream lost to the walls of our fractured home, but a documented, undeniable record of her monstrous lies. A chilling testament to the brutal, soul-destroying truth I had so painfully unearthed. A truth that would now be undeniable to anyone. I spent the next few hours in a self-imposed purgatory, meticulously piecing together the fragments of her monstrous plan, trying to understand the why behind the what, convinced that the reason for this elaborate escape plan extended far beyond mere infidelity, hinting at something darker, something illegal, something that put my very life at risk, making every past interaction, every shared laugh, every tender moment, a grotesque mockery of what I believed our relationship to be. The thought of confronting her immediately, of unleashing the torrent of my pain and rage, was tempting, a visceral urge that throbbed constantly beneath the surface. But I resisted, knowing that raw emotion would only serve to complicate the inevitable, to dilute the impact of her profound betrayal, especially given the high stakes implied by the new passports and the escape plan itself. I needed to be calm, collected, utterly in control, ensuring that when the moment came, her carefully constructed world of lies would collapse with maximum devastating effect. Without endangering myself further, the moment of confrontation, the ultimate reckoning that had been simmering beneath the surface of our fractured relationship, arrived not with an explosive argument, but with a chilling, almost surgical precision, initiated by me, when, with a voice devoid of emotion, a tone so flat and controlled it barely sounded like my own, I calmly informed Eleanor that I had found something on her laptop that morning. A statement that immediately drew her attention, her eyes, usually so guarded, now wide with a flicker of confusion. A subtle hint of unease that I noted with a grim satisfaction, knowing that the trap was set. I sat her down at the kitchen table, the very table where we had planned our supposed future, now transformed into a stage for her final act of deceit, and without a word, slowly opened my laptop, displaying the full, horrifying contents of the escape plan folder, the airline tickets in my name, the 2 new passports, and the irrefutable, sickeningly intimate thank you notes from her side fling, allowing the weight of its undeniable accusation to settle heavily between us, watching intently as her carefully constructed facade began to crack. Her initial bewilderment slowly, agonizingly, giving way to a dawning, sickening comprehension. Her eyes darted from the damning evidence on the screen to my face, then back again, her breath catching in her throat, a choked gasp escaping her lips as she slowly, imperceptibly, began to understand that the jig was up, that her elaborate game of deception had reached its abrupt, undeniable end. And in that moment, as the horrifying realization of her utter exposure washed over her, I saw not the woman I had loved, but a stranger, a cold, calculating stranger whose carefully constructed world of lies was now irrevocably crumbling around her, piece by agonizing piece, leaving her utterly exposed, vulnerable, and profoundly defeated. The truth, now undeniable, hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating, and the terrifying silence that followed was broken only by her ragged breathing, each gasping breath a testament to her shattered composure as the full, devastating magnitude of her betrayal, of her meticulously planned deception, finally enveloped us both, signaling the inescapable end of everything we once were, everything I once believed. The ensuing fallout was catastrophic, a devastating earthquake that tore through the very foundations of my life, leaving behind a landscape of emotional rubble and profound disillusionment, as the immediate aftermath of our confrontation was a blur of her desperate pleas, furious accusations, and eventually, a chilling, almost detached admission of her guilt, A confession that, ironically, felt far less impactful than the initial discovery, simply confirming what I already knew with a soul-crushing certainty. The relationship, once the anchor of my existence, dissolved into a painful, messy process of disentanglement. Its cherished memories now tainted by the pervasive stench of her calculated deceit and the chilling implications of her escape plan, leaving me feeling emotionally raw, utterly betrayed, and profoundly wary of future connections. Knowing that such a deep level of manipulation could exist beneath a facade of love. The financial implications, though secondary to the emotional devastation, were significant, as the money I had unknowingly contributed to our shared escape, money intended for our future, was now simply gone, swallowed by the vortex of her clandestine activities, adding another layer of bitter insult to her already monumental betrayal. The existential dread lingered, a chilling reminder of how close I had come to being unwittingly entangled in a plot far more dangerous than mere infidelity. A plot that could have cost me not just my heart, but my entire identity, my freedom, or even my life, leaving me with a profound sense of gratitude for having discovered the truth before it was too late. Even as the pain of her betrayal threatened to consume me, in the arduous months that followed, I embarked on a solitary, painful journey of healing, meticulously stitching together the fragments of my shattered self, confronting the lingering fear and the profound sense of loss, slowly, painstakingly, rebuilding a future on a foundation of honesty and self-reliance. Understanding that while the scars of her deception would forever remain, they could not, define me. The scent of lilies, once a symbol of our promised bliss, now evokes a bittersweet memory, a reminder of the beautiful lie I almost lived, and the terrifying truth that ultimately set me free.